Hello and welcome to Shoals Marine Lab. I'm Matthew Lynn, and today we have with us Amisha, one of our gull banding interns. Today we will be learning about her biographical narrative as well as the research she is doing on the island. Let's begin. Amisha, we're very glad to have you with us today. To begin our biographical narrative, can you please tell us from where you are and where you go to school?
I am from the University of New England in Biddeford, Maine. I'm an animal behavior major with a minor in English, and I grew up in Stamford, Connecticut.
What about right now? What are you doing on Appledore, and what do you hope to do next?
This internship is the last requirement for my degree at UNE, and when I complete it, I'm hoping to have an internship this fall at an aquarium in Norwalk, Connecticut, and following that, I'm possibly going to be taking the GREs and applying to grad school for ecology, evolution, and behavior.
I wish you the best with that. Looking backwards, can you tell us what inspired you to begin a career in science?
When I was a kid, I've just always loved learning about animals. I never had pets in the house until I was 15, but by 4th grade, I already knew that a career with animals would make me happy, and I found that obviously science is the best way to go about that, and that constantly learning something new is just always refreshing and fun.
That's a wonderful story. Moving on to our technical narrative, can you please explain to us why gulls are important and why we should care?
As apex predators, gulls have cascading impacts on their environment, and they also link the marine and terrestrial environment because they are eating crabs and bivalves and fish, but then they're leaving their waste on land, they're raising their young on land, having their nests made in that vegetation. So they link to very important aspects of the ecosystem, and they also act as sentinels for marine health because of the fact that they are at the top of the food chain.
With respect to the project, what would you say in a sentence the question you're trying to answer is?
So our project is to study gull population biology. So we look at population dynamics and trends, such as how many gulls are on the island, where they're nesting the most, and characteristics of their breeding, like fledging success.
But how does one go about monitoring all of the gulls on the island? There are quite a few of them.
Well, this project is also a banding project, so certain gulls that we've banded in the past have individually distinct field-readable bands as well as small metal federal bands. We measure their eggs and then repeatedly return throughout the season to see when hatching occurs. We maintain hatch order, so we know which chick is the oldest, which is the middle, which is the youngest, by coloring in their belly with Sharpie until they are old enough to receive little plastic poultry bands that go on their legs.
But with respect to the banding and the Sharpieing and the poultry bands, how are you ensuring that these birds are treated humanely?
Well, first of all of our protocols are approved by IACUC, and we don't do anything that we don't have.
What is IACUC and why are they important?
IACUC is the Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee, and they basically approve protocols and experiments that work with animals to ensure that their welfare is properly being taken care of. We don't do anything that we don't have permits for. Also, my mentor is a veterinarian, and she spends our first week out here with us showing us how to properly interact with these gulls and minimize the stress or disturbance to the colony that we cause. And we try to spend as little time out there as possible. When we are banding gulls, we put them in bags, which helps to limit their vision, and in birds that really minimizes their stress. And we have gull sticks to make sure that we don't get hit in the head, but they're used solely for just having a higher point than our head, not for any offense of any kind.
Well, I'm glad everything is up to code and in accordance with government standards. What have you found so far with this group project?
Well, everyone on the island has been making remarks this year that there are a lot less birds than there used to be. And last year's gull intern was actually out here just this week mapping all of the nests on the island. And we found that for both the great black-backed and the herring gulls, there are about 200 nests less than there were last year. So we are seeing a sharp decline in both species on this island.
That's quite a difference. Finally, I do hear you're working on an individual project. Can you please tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so my personal project is actually taking advantage of the fact that we have 7 years of data on these birds' nests. So the gulls out here have one mate per breeding season, and they typically stay together for multiple years, but they don't mate for life. And there are certain advantages to staying with the same mate. So that makes us wonder, why are these birds choosing to leave mates that they have had breeding success with before? And I am analyzing our data to try to see how certain factors correlate with changing of mates, and focusing specifically on latitudinal and longitudinal changes to see how location might have an impact.
Well, thank you, Amisha. That's about all the time we have for today. We got to learn about your wonderful story of how you came to Appledore Island, as well as the research you are doing. We wish you the best. I'm Matthew Lynn of Shoals Marine Lab, and we'll see you next time.